Hare Krishna. We continue reading from the book Beyond Birth and Death. We are on the Chapter-02, Beyond Birth and Death by Srila Prabhupada. So, reading on, it is of utmost importance, therefore, that we know the nature of our constitutional position. To understand ourselves, the soul, we want eternity, complete knowledge, and also pleasure. This is the nature of the soul. Eternity, complete knowledge, and pleasure. When we are left alone for a long time in the impersonal Brahmajyoti, we cannot have pleasure, and therefore we accept the pleasure given by the material world. So eternity, of course, and the Brahmajyoti, of course, it's eternal. There is no material body, there's no birth and death. There's knowledge, yes, understanding that I'm Brahman, I'm the soul. But the pleasure, as we were reading yesterday, that with the association, that is not there. And then because the pleasure is not there and we are pleasure seeking, we are always seeking pleasure. And that's the reason we have to again come to the material platform. If we do not have knowledge of the Vaikuntha, if we do not have knowledge of God, of the devotees, of devotional service, and if we only know the pleasure of the material world, then we will seek pleasure there. But in Krishna consciousness, real pleasure is enjoyed. In the material world, it is generally accepted that the highest pleasure is sex. This is a perverted reflection of the sex pleasure in the spiritual world, the pleasure of association with Krishna. But we should not think that the pleasure there is like the sex pleasure in the material world. No, it is different. But unless sex life is there in the spiritual world, it cannot be reflected here. Here it is simply a perverted reflection, but the actual life is there in Krishna, who is full of all pleasure. So we are all seeking pleasure. Everyone is seeking pleasure. Highest pleasure is sex pleasure, and it's there in the spiritual world also, but in its pure form. In the material world, as we see it, it is in a perverted form. So if we say no, how can there be sex pleasure in the spiritual world? Then the question will arise, then how come it's there in the material world? How can we have something that God does not have? How can the material world have something which the spiritual world does not have? Spiritual world has, but it's in its pure form. It's not like this, how we see it here. It's not at all like that. It's based on love. This is how we can, because if we say, no, the spiritual world does not have certain thing which the material world has, then we are taking away the meaning of the spirit of spiritual. Then we are making everything material. So therefore, the best process is to train ourselves now, so that at the time of death, we may transfer ourselves to the spiritual universe, to Krishna Loka, and there associate with Krishna. So if we can practice now, we practice. And then at the time of death, hopefully we can remember Krishna. And Krishna says, one who has remembered me in this enduring his life, even at the time of death, if he's not able to remember me, I will come to him. That's Krishna's promise. So we just sincerely try to hear, chant, remember Krishna, revive our relationship with Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. In the Brahma Samhita 529, Sri Krishna and his abode are described thus: Chintamani prakara sadamashu kalpavriksha laksha vriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevayamanam Govindam adipurusham tam aham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. So this is what Lord Brahma is saying. This is a description of Golok Vrindavan. Chintamani prakara sadamashu kalpa vriksha. I worship, so we read again. I worship Govinda, the Primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows. So, Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Govinda, you are my seed-giving father, the first progenitor. Everyone is coming from Govinda, from Krishna. Krishna is the cause of all causes. And what is he doing? He's tending cows. That's what Krishna likes to do. He tends cows. Fulfilling all desire. Krishna is the one who can fulfill all our desires. In abodes built with spiritual gems. Here we have houses made of cement, iron, whatever, steel. But we do not have our houses made of spiritual gems. In earlier days, there would be maybe palaces made of gold and jewels, all that, but they were also material, not spiritual. In Golok Vrindavan, it is spiritual. Surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees. Here the trees, okay, mango tree will give mango, apple tree will give us apple. But in Golok Vrindavan, there are trees. We can ask anything from the tree, and the tree will give us wish fulfilling. Because in Golok Vrindavan, the only desire that the Vaikuntha Vasis have, the Brajavasis have, is to please Krishna. Nobody is wanting to fulfill their own egos, or it's everything. Krishna is the center. So the trees are also happy to provide as much as they want for the pleasure of Krishna. And he's served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. We're always trying to get the attention of Lakshmi ji. We're always trying to get her favor, doing great endeavor to get her favor. And here Krishna, well, hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis are worshipping him. The Lakshmis, they are expansions of the Gopis. The Gopis are the original goddesses of fortune. And the foremost is Radharani. She's the origin of all. Just as Krishna is the origin of all the incarnations, expansions of the Lord, Srimati Radharani, she is the origin of all the consorts of the Lord. She's the origin of Lakshmi, of the other gopis, even of many of the gopis are her personal expansions. Of Lakshmi ji, of Mother Sita, like that. This is a description of Krishna. Look, the houses are made of what is called touchstone, chintamani. Whatever touchstone touches immediately turns into gold. So the touchstone, the houses in Golok, Krishna Lok is made with touchstone, and anything that the touchstone touches, that will become gold also. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees or desire trees, for one can receive from them whatever he wishes. In this world, we get mangoes from mango tree and apples from apple trees. But from any tree, one can get whatever he desires. Similarly, the cows are called surabhi, and they yield an endless supply of milk. These are descriptions of the spiritual planets found in the Vedic scriptures. So this is not some imagination or somebody's mental concoction. No, this is mentioned in the scriptures. This is authorized versions. It's there. And Lord Brahma is saying it also because he's seeing it. If somebody is in a village and then somebody comes from America and tells him, oh, in America, people wear this kind of clothes. A village in India, we are saying, who's never been out of the village, only eaten Indian food, worn Indian clothes, never heard English, never spoken in English, never doesn't know anything about the West, and somebody comes from America and tell him that, oh, I went there and the people are look like this, they wear this, they eat this is the language they speak. Now the person has a choice to believe him or not to believe him. But the fact is there, yes, that people do have a different life in America than in India. Now, but if the villager says, no, no, it's too different, I cannot accept it. I know only what I can see. And this is what I'm going to believe in. Then he just closes himself out to the knowledge to expand his knowledge. So similarly, here the pure devotees, the acharyas, they are giving us the descriptions of the spiritual world. The scriptures are giving us this description of the spiritual world. We simply have to accept them. In this material world, we have become acclimatized to birth, death, and all sorts of suffering. Material scientists have discovered many facilities for sense enjoyment and destruction, but they have discovered no solution to the problems of old age, disease, and death. They cannot make any machine that will check death, old age, or disease. So, although we have advanced a lot, materially, we have advanced a lot, and we are so used to a certain lifestyle now. We cannot live without so many gadgets, so many things. But yet we are faced with death, with diseases, with old age. We try to, okay, for example, disease, then we have so much medicines, we have so many, and we are grateful for that, because if we didn't have that, then it would be difficult. But yet disease keeps coming, and newer disease keeps coming. We overcome one big disease and then another disease is there waiting. Or death, no matter how much we want to stay in the body, or we make arrangements to have longer lives, but yet death comes. So they cannot make any machine that will check death, old age, or disease. We can manufacture something that will accelerate death, but nothing that will stop death. Those who are intelligent, however, are not concerned with the fourfold miseries of material life, but with elevation to the spiritual planets. So this is the nature of the material world. There is going to be birth, death, old age, and disease. So we should somehow or the other try to go back to the spiritual world, because we are, after all, spirit souls. One who is continuously in trance, nitya yuktasya yoginaha, does not divert his attention to anything else. He's always situated in trance. His mind is always filled with the thought of Krishna without deviation. Ananya chetaha satatam. Satatam refers to anywhere and anytime. So this is the devotee. He just wants to go back to the spiritual world. He's always thinking of Krishna. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, engage your mind in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. So in India, I lived in Vrindavan and now I'm in America. But this does not mean that I'm out of Vrindavan. Because if I think of Krishna always, then I'm in Vrindavan, regardless of the material designation. So Srila Prabhupada here is giving his own example. He was living in Vrindavan. Then at the age of 69, he left Vrindavan to go to America to give us the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita in a language that we can understand. But he says that I'm always in Vrindavan. Why? Because I'm always with Krishna. I'm always thinking of Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. That he's always thinking of Krishna, so he's always in Vrindavan. Because wherever Krishna is, that's Vrindavan. Krishna consciousness means that one always lives with Krishna on that spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan, and that one is simply waiting to give up this material body. Smarati Nityashaha means continuously remembering. And for one who is continuously remembering Krishna, the Lord becomes Tasyaham Sulabhaha, easily purchased. So always remembering Krishna again brings to that base, the foundation rule, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And by doing that, by continuously one who's remembering Krishna, Krishna becomes easily purchased. He's God himself. Krishna is God. Krishna himself says that he's easily purchased by this bhakti yoga process. Then why should we take to any other process? So Prabhupada is pointing out that Krishna, he himself is saying that he becomes purchased by the devotees. Then why should we try to follow some other process, Let us take up this bhakti process. We can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, 24 hours daily. There are no rules and regulations. One can chant in the street, in the subway, or at his home or office. There's no tax and no expense. So why not take to it? So this is the proposal, that by chanting Hare Krishna, we are always remembering Krishna, we can revive our love of Krishna, we can be established in our relationship with Krishna. And there are no rules and regulations to chant Hare Krishna Ma mantra. Some mantras you have to have taken shower, or you have to be a Brahmana. Like, for example, Gayatri mantra, you have to be a Brahmana to chant it so that the mantra can have its effect. But the Hare Krishna mantra, anyone can chant anywhere, at any time, in whatever condition, and the mantra has its effect. That's what Lord Chaitanya came to give us. He's come to give us this Golokera Premadana, Harinam Sankirtan. He's come to give us this love of Krishna. And were there any questions or comments till now what we have read?
No, only in the nectar of devotion you had mentioned, the three levels, right, of bhakti, sadhana bhakti, and then bhava bhakti and prema bhakti, right? So where you reach.
Yeah, what we were reading, it was categorized as three types of bhakti.
Three types, right?
Yeah, three types they were mentioned. That there is sadhana, there is bhava, and there is
So slowly,
prema.
slowly you elevate, right? Like from sadhana, you go up to bhava bhakti. I mean, depends on your devotion, right?
Yeah, but also one can get perfection even when they are doing sadhana bhakti.
Can.
Yeah, right. By sadhana bhakti also one comes to the liberated platform, comes to nishtha. Nishtha is the point of liberation. And then one goes on further and further, and the love, then attachment, there's ashakti, there's
Because in
taste.
sadhana, there's no that attachment yet, no?
Yes, yes. And then
So how
as the
do you?
devotee progresses, yeah, and he progresses and he progresses, he continues to hear and chant. And then he gets the taste for it, then he gets attached, then he gets the bhava, the emotion, and then prema, Krishna. Yeah, love for Krishna. So everything will happen. We just chant, we just continue to hear and chant and remember Krishna. Yeah. So we'll read a bit from chapter 3. Is that okay? Start
Yes.
it today.
Yes.
Liberation from material planets. The Gyanis and Yogis are generally impersonalists, and although they attain the temporary form of liberation, by merging into the impersonal effulgence, the spiritual sky, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, their knowledge is not considered pure. So although the Gyanis are called, it's a process of knowledge, and the yogis, of course, that's the process of meditation, and their destination is the Brahmajyoti. That is where the knowledge or the meditation takes them to, into the Brahmajyoti. But Bhagavatam is saying that this knowledge is not a pure knowledge. We'll read why. By penances, austerities, and meditations, they can rise up to the platform of the Supreme Absolute. But as has been explained, they again fall down to the material world because they have not taken Krishna's personal features seriously. Because the knowledge is not complete. The knowledge is only up to that I'm the soul, but there is no knowledge that I'm part and parcel of Krishna. There's no knowledge of Krishna, of the absolute truth. So because the knowledge is partial, it's not completely pure knowledge. They have not taken Krishna's personal features seriously, not understanding that Krishna, his form, Krishna has a form, and that form is spiritual, not material. Krishna's body is spiritual body, not material body. Unless one worships the lotus feet of Krishna, he again has to descend to the material platform. So this is the verdict, that until unless we do not worship Krishna, we will come back to the material world, even if we reach up to the Brahmajyoti, which is very difficult. It's not easy to reach the Brahman. Not easy by the process of yoga and gyan. It takes many, many births. Not easy that in one birth to achieve that platform. And yet, even after so much endeavor, that position is not a very stable or a permanent position. Why? Because the knowledge is not yet complete of Krishna. Krishna is a person, that God is a person. And unless one worships the lotus feet of Krishna, he again has to descend to the material platform. And that's the reason Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava mad bhakta mad yajimam namaskuru. Become my devotee, worship me. It's not that he's like very proud and he is, like we are proud and that's why we want people to worship us, to fill our egos. But Krishna has no ego. It's not that he has this false ego, I should rather say. He does not have the false ego. But why is he saying? Because that's our natural position, to always be in connection with Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Till the time we don't come to that position means going back home. That is our true position. That's self-realization. That's the permanent position. The ideal attitude should be, I am your eternal servitor. Please let me somehow engage in your service. So this is the spiritual platform. Understanding I'm eternal servant of Krishna, kindly engage me in your service somehow or the other. But what in the material world right now, we are conditioned. So we are like, why should I serve Krishna? Who's he, Everybody should serve me. Why should I serve Krishna? That is because of this attitude, we are here in the material world. We are far away from our truth of our position. So by Srila Prabhupada said, when we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are pleading to Mother Hara, the internal energy of Krishna. Kindly engage me in the service of Father Krishna. When we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are imploring the internal energy of Krishna to engage us in service of Krishna. Krishna is called Ajitaha, unconquerable, for no one can conquer God. But according to Srimad Bhagavatam, one with this attitude easily conquers the Supreme. So Krishna, he's Swarat, he's independent, he's Ajitaha. No one can defeat Krishna. No one can capture him, conquer him, bind him. No one. But what is Bhagavatam saying? That no one can. But one who wants to engage in the service of Krishna, one who is imploring Krishna, kindly engage me in your service. He can conquer Krishna. He can conquer Krishna. Conquering God means becoming greater than God, So this is what Krishna is doing. He's giving a position to his devotee which is greater than him. Like he became Parthasarthi. Till today he's called Parthasarthi. He became the chariot driver of Arjuna. So who's serving who? You know, we are saying, oh, devotee is serving Krishna, but Krishna is becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna. So Krishna is serving the devotee. The devotee is also serving Krishna. Krishna is also serving the devotee, and both are having a loving relationship. Like the husband serves the wife serves the husband. Both are serving each other and they have a loving relationship. Similarly, we each of us have a loving relationship with Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam also recommends that we give up this futile process to measure the Supreme. We cannot even measure the limitations of space. What to speak of the Supreme? You know, we try to think that we can limit the glories of God in our tiny mind. Our mind, which is limited, it's material after all. It's not unlimited. And so we are trying to think that God should fit in this space of my mind, that he cannot be beyond my mind. That's the limitation we are putting to God. But it's not possible to measure the length and breadth of Krishna by one's minuscule knowledge. And one who arrives at this conclusion is considered intelligent by Vedic literature. So just by our mind, by the process of Gyan, we cannot know Krishna. And the Vedas are saying that don't try to understand Krishna through the process, only through the process of knowledge. What they are saying, one should come to understand submissively that he's a very insignificant segment of this universe. So how can we understand Krishna? Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. In chapter 18, he says that one can know me by devotion. One who engages in devotional service can know Krishna. So, and devotional service begins by hearing. So when we begin to hear about Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, that's how we will be able to know Krishna to whatever degree he reveals himself to us. Mam eva ya prapadyante tamstatheva bhajamyaham. That to the degree one surrenders, Krishna rewards accordingly. Now, what we have to come to understand, we are thinking we are great, we are thinking we are God, we are thinking I am the Supreme. Okay, through the process of knowledge, one comes to understand I am Brahman, I'm the great one. But actually, we have to try to understand that we are a very insignificant segment of this universe. That is what is the journey of our self-discovery, to understand I'm not the great one as I'm thinking I am. Abandoning the endeavor to understand the Supreme by limited knowledge or mental speculation, we should become submissive and hear of the Supreme through authoritative sources such as the Bhagavad Gita or through the lips of a realized soul. So we need to hear about Krishna from the pure devotees or from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or from the pure devotees. Even there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita, but are they written by the pure devotee? Because only by devotion can one understand the Supreme. Are there any questions or comments?
I like that part, that how, Krishna also becomes, he serves you. You serve him, he'll serve you. So there's one nice line which I heard, one of the talks that says, Tu mere naam mein, main tere kaam pe. So if what are your desires, I will fulfill. You serve me means, you engage in devotion, remember my name. And
Yeah.
Tu mere
It's an
naam mein.
exchange.
Yeah, it's an exchange. Right.
Yeah. It's not like one-sided. We hear of one-sided love stories, but our loving affair with Krishna is a reciprocation. It's a reciprocation. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you so much for listening and joining in. Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.